UFC 298 is on our doorsteps. We are just 1 week away, and it's time for me to give my breakdown and predictions for every single fight on this card. Not only is this main card, in my opinion, the best main card we're going to get all year, the prelims, although they're not as good as UFC 300s or UFC 299s, I think we're going to see a lot of really entertaining fights. There are some very interesting prospects, exciting prospects on this one, and as always, if you're just interested in hearing my take on a particular one of these fights, make sure to check the timestamps in the description. And without further ado, let's get into this. The first fight that I'm going to break down is Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. Guys, I'm going with Val Woodburn to get destroyed in this fight. Maybe not destroyed. And here's the thing. We all know this guy just got knocked out by Bo Nichols, so he's coming off of a KO loss. And I think that people are probably going to be taking him to win this one just because he's the more known guy, right? They remember him stepping in on short notice. He's already going to get some credit for that. But he got chinned. He got made to look like easy work, and that's not really that terrible of a look. He was up a weight class. He was so much smaller than Bo. But I looked at his record. I've watched some of his fights. The first thing that I noticed, guys, again, I know people are going to pick him because he looks cool, and it's Val Woodburn, and we know who he is. But he's facing bums. Really, I mean, these guys that he's up against, we're talking 40s, we're talking late 30s, we're talking about guys that just look like, you know, they quit their job, they've had a kid for a while, and it's time for them to chill. You got to look at who he's fighting. I mean, these are literal plumbers, part-time plumbers, full-time fathers that are just fighting on the side because fuck it, why not? And Val Woodburn's going to a lot of decisions too. Oban Elliott ain't that great. He's young, he's hungry. He's had a nice win on the Contender Series, but I'm going to pick him to win this fight because the guys that he's fighting are higher level, and I think he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground. From what I've seen, this guy does his best work on the ground. He's a little bit slow on the feet. Not dangerous up there. He doesn't have a whole lot of speed. I could see Val Woodburn planting a big shot on his chin, but he's got some nice knees. He'll catch you off guard with a couple of these surprising, flashy techniques, but it's usually just to close the distance. And when I'm looking at Val Woodburn, I'm looking at a guy that is mostly a striker, that doesn't really have a whole lot of KOs, doesn't have a great gas tank by any means, is still kind of undersized for 170, and I don't really see a method to his madness. Of course, he's a big, stocky guy, and he might be able to stuff a takedown or land a big punch. Oban Elliott has the reach advantage, the height advantage. I think where his bread and butter is better than whatever Val Woodburn's bread and butter is. I don't know what it is, right? And some guys that have nasty power, they can get away with not necessarily doing any one thing excellent because they have that nuclear bomb option. And I don't think Val Woodburn's even got that. Whereas Oban Elliott, at least he can take this to the ground. He may not be fast. As I said, he's very slow on the feet. Not the most confident looking guy on the feet, 100%. Slow twitch, but he's got those slow twitch, jiu-jitsu grappling type of muscles that I think he'll be able to use to take this fight to the ground, just to slowly but surely work his way to a good position, work his way into a submission, maybe an arm triangle. So I actually am going to go with Oban Elliott, and I'm going to pick him to win this fight via first or second round arm triangle or decision. On to the next one, Josh Quinlan versus Danny Barlow. I'm going to be picking Danny Barlow to win this fight via first or second round KO. I'm going to say second round KO. And the reason I'm picking him to win this fight, this guy is making his UFC debut. I'm talking about Barlow. Quinlan has had 2 fights in the UFC, came in with a bang, got a nasty KO, was scheduled to fight someone else, then got pulled because he popped for steroids. He got suspended for like 9 months. And then he came back to fight Trey Waters, who is a very tall and rangy welterweight. I believe the guy is like 6'5". He's got a very long reach. And he was just keeping Quinlan at the end of his jab, sliding back just out of the way when Quinlan would come charging forward, looking for a big KO. And that's what I did kind of notice in that fight. Quinlan is very reliant, in my opinion, on getting that big KO shot. And I've watched Danny Barlow. It's his UFC debut again. This guy has options on the feet, all right? He's got variety. He's got phenomenal kicks, great boxing. He has a significant reach advantage going into this, great power as well. I see this guy fight. He's really composed, got a first-round KO on the Dana White Contender Series, and he's a knockout artist, man. This guy's getting finishes left and right. He's only lost to Christian Echelos. I don't really know much about this guy. That was a decision. But again, Quinlan, no longer on the sauce, probably not going to hit as hard as he used to, has a significant reach disadvantage. And anytime you have a guy with a significant reach disadvantage who's dependent on the KO, that can be a recipe for disaster in front of a guy that has a wide variety of strikes, that knows how to use his distance. That's what I've seen from Danny Barlow. He looks like a guy that knows how to manage distance very well. It's tricky. You don't know what's coming next. This guy's a good feint game, too. He sets up his shots well. I think he's going to knock out Quinlan in the first or second round. When Quinlan makes a big mistake overthrowing something, he's going to tag him with a nice right hand. So I am going to pick Danny Barlow to get this one done in his UFC debut by KO, just based on being the more creative striker. He's definitely fast, too. He's going to have a bit of a speed advantage. On to the next one, Brendson Ribeiro versus Mingyang Zhang. I cannot wait for this fight, and you guys have to watch this. Both young and fascinating prospects. Mingyang Zhang, I believe, is on a 9-fight finish streak. Brendson Ribeiro, not on the same type of streak, but he has an 81-inch reach. He reminds me of Alex Pereira and Johnny Walker at the same time. Alex Pereira, because he looks exactly like him, and he's scary as fuck, and he's got an 81-inch reach. Johnny Walker, because he's got a very goofy goober style. When people get in on the inside of this guy, he's so open. His boxing fundamentals just don't seem to be there. He had a nasty KO on the Contender Series where he had this guy on the very end of his straight shots, and that's where he's going to be most dangerous. The guy that he beat was no slouch either, Bruno Lopez. He was undefeated going into that. Brendson Ribeiro chinned him, and I think that we could see Brendson Ribeiro knock out anyone, but he's just not necessarily built to take punishment. Every single time I see this guy get hit, like Johnny Walker, he starts to do the jitterbug. It's very worrisome. And if you can get past the reach, because his boxing ain't that great, he's so open. He overswings. He just hopes and prays that some of these shots land. He's dangerous on the ground. He has a bunch of finishes on the ground. He's pretty good down there. But I'm going to go with Mingyang Zhang. Mingyang Zhang is a dog. He's got a good chin. And he had a nasty KO on the road to the UFC against George Tokos. Nothing to write home about as far as his opponents are concerned. I mean, that they're nothing that special, but he's finishing everyone in his path. He's getting better with his grappling as well. He has a couple of embarrassing losses, but we're looking all the way back to 2018 when this guy was like 18 years old. One of them is to Askar Murtazov, who was the fraud that faked his record to get into the UFC. But again, he was 18 years old when he lost to that guy. A little bit of a weird loss, but he's gotten a whole lot better. He's going to have a significant reach disadvantage, but I love his short and compact style. He's not short, by the way, but he's got the high guard. Short reach is what I mean. And I think he will be able to work his way in on the inside of Brendson, who's just so easy to hit. And I see Mingyang's compact boxing shots being able to land a big punch on the inside to put down Brendson Ribeiro, who again gets rocked in every single fight. Mingyang, that's a guy that I don't see getting rocked a lot. He has a good chin. He's got big power. He's moving down from heavyweight. And normally I would pick the light heavyweight in this kind of contest, but because both of these guys are young, and Mingyang, I believe he's had a couple of light heavyweight fights recently, the sooner you move down, the better. I think it's easier to get accustomed to that lower weight class when you're still relatively young and skill building. So I am going to go with Mingyang Zhang by KO. I think Brendson, although he's, in my opinion, going to be a more fun guy in this division, but that's not necessarily true. Brendson just kind of reminds me of Pereira, which is why I'd like to see him win. But I'm going with Mingyang Zhang. Watch this fight. You're not going to want to miss it. It's probably going to end in a brutal, brutal finish. On to the next one. Rinya Nakamura, undefeated, high-level Japanese wrestler versus Carlos Vera, coming off of the Chandler and McGregor series or season of Tough, which was probably the least talent-stacked season we've ever seen. Carlos Vera is 36 years old, and he lost on Tough to Brad Katona. And Rinya Nakamura has incredibly high-level wrestling. I believe Carlos Vera is, for the most part, a grappler. Oh my goodness, he's about to get destroyed in this one. I'm going to pick Rinya Nakamura to win this fight via KO. Gnarly KO. Now, to be fair, he didn't finish Fernie Garcia. That was his last fight. But he's got a bunch of one-shot knockouts. He's got very high-level grappling. I was disappointed that he couldn't finish Fernie, but I think he was kind of opting for control time, and Fernie was doing a good job at being a tough out in that one. He was just kind of making it a point not to get finished more than anything else rather than just winning. But I'm going to go with Rinya. Very high level of wrestling. I believe he's won like world championships under 23, which is crazy. How old is he? He's 28 years old. I'm picking him to win this fight. All right. He's going to have the speed advantage. He's going to have the grappling advantage. He's going to have the power advantage. And we're talking about Carlos Vera. Again, 36-year-old. I hate to say it, but it's just the truth. Failed prospect coming off of the worst tough season ever. So I'm picking Rinya 100%. Let's get on to the next one. Marcos Rogerio de Lima versus Justin Tafa. I was going to go with Justin Tafa to win this fight, but as crazy as this sounds, man, because I've been hyping him up to be like the better version of Tai Tuivasa, but his wins are just not special at all. The guys that he's beating, like for example, I'll bring up one of them. Harry Hunsucker went 0-3 in the UFC and lost on the Contender Series to Jared Vandeera. Not a good look. I mean, the guys that he's beating are very low level. Parker Porter, nothing to write home about. Austin Lane, I think he's always kind of been a fraud, and I did pick him to beat him. To be fair, I did pick Austin Lane to beat Justin Tafa. But the reason I'm going with Marcos Rogerio de Lima is because he's crafty, and he has the ability to take this fight to the ground. He has very good low kicks, and he's just beaten a better level of competition. Now, of course, Marcos Rogerio de Lima is coming off of a KO loss to Derek Lewis. That's the only KO loss in his entire career. Do I expect him to be able to take a big bomb from Justin Tafa? No, of course not. I just don't think he's going to get hit with it. He does seem to be defensively sound. Sure, he got KO'd, but that's Derek Lewis flying in the air. I mean, anyone's going to get knocked down by that. But we're looking at a finish over Andrei Arlovski. Say what you want about Andrei Arlovski. It's not so easy to finish him. He may not have a whole lot of power, but he's crafty. He's got great footwork. He's got good boxing defense, good head movement. He's hard to finish. He beat up Waldo Cortez Acosta, destroyed his legs early on, and that's the fight that really made me think about him a little bit differently going into this, because he has phenomenal low kicks, and Justin Tafa, outside of a big gnarly overhand or something like that, he did get a head kick knockout over, again, what the fuck was his name? Harry Hunsucker. Again, a guy that just lost every single fight in his UFC career and on the Dana White Contender Series. If Justin Tafa doesn't get the big bomb KO with Marcos Rogerio de Lima just scrapping with him in the pocket, he's going to lose this fight, and he's very stationary. He's there to be low-kicked. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is going to have an option to take this fight to the ground. I'm looking at Justin Tafa with that Mark Hunt build. I'm not confident in his chances to be able to do anything off of his back. So I am going to go with Marcos Rogerio de Lima to win this fight via dominant decision. He is 38. Tafa's 30. But he's just been in the game for a long time, man. And again, he's losing to guys that are grappling for the most part. He's getting submitted by OSP, Stefan Struve, Alexander Romanov. He's not losing via KO. And the guys that he's striking with, he does very well against. Waldo Cortez Acosta, maybe not the best fighter, but he's kind of fast. You know, out of all these NPC heavyweights, he's kind of fast. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is, in my opinion, the gatekeeper when it comes to NPC run-of-the-mill conveyor belt heavyweights and like the top 15. And I just don't know if Tafa gets it done. You never know at heavyweight, but he's only beaten absolute cans. Literally cans, dude. And he's gotten destroyed by Jared Vandeera, who had an awful UFC career, dude. Like the only win Jared Vandeera had in his entire UFC career was Justin Tafa, and he had like 5 or 6 L's. And that's just not a good... That's a guy that's basically right in front of you the whole time, too. Carlos Felipe lost to him as well. I'm definitely going to go with the crafty man, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. He's going to leg kick the shit out of Justin Tafa, slow him down, just kind of work a pace on him, frustrate him by mixing in the takedowns by decision. On to the next one. Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. Amanda Lemos took a beating against Zhang Weili. I think Mackenzie Dern is going to take her to the ground and out-grapple her. Now, I know Mackenzie Dern just got the fuck beat out of her as well by Jessica Andrade. But just because Amanda Lemos is like lean and shredded and She's made it to the top, and she's got a bunch of good wins. I'm still going to pick Mackenzie Dern to get the submission. You know, it's one of those, if you lose again, you're going to win your next one. They're always going back and forth, although both of them are coming off of losses. Fair enough. Damn, she did knock out Marina Rodriguez, and she is a bit of a finisher too. I'm not going to lie. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me look at the ages, guys. Like, I've not done a whole lot of research on this. 30 for Mackenzie Dern. Amanda Lemos is 36. I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern. She did try to stand with Jessica Andrade a little bit too long. This could end up poorly. I may regret just picking this fight to begin with, but I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern to take this fight to the ground, learn a lesson from the last time out, and get the submission in the first or second round. On to the next one. Anthony Hernandez, Roman Kopylov. We are finally at the main card. This is the tricky one, right? This is the dark horse matchup for the middleweight division. Two polar opposites. I cannot stress this enough, guys. Anthony Hernandez is one of the most dangerous grapplers in MMA right now. He's got one of the best cardio-based styles mixed in with power and finishing ability I've ever seen. And Roman Kopylov, on the other hand, is just next level in the middleweight division on the feet. He's a fucking killer. His body shots are nasty. He's destroyed guys with those body shots before. Either Hernandez finishes him in the third, gets a decision, that's possible too, or Roman Kopylov knocks his ass out. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov to win this fight via body shot KO, similarly to how Kevin Holland beat Anthony Hernandez. Now, that was a much younger version of Anthony Hernandez. Kevin Holland hit him with a knee to the body and crumpled him in the first round. First minute KO. Since then, Hernandez has ran through everybody. And listen, he's got a ferocious style, and he just imposes his will like an absolute madman. But Roman Kopylov came into the UFC. His weakness was the grappling, okay? Roman Kopylov did get taken down by Albert Duraev. He got his ass kicked in that fight. Lost via rear naked choke to Karl Roberson. Since then, he's moved to Makhachkala, Dagestan, Russia. He lives there. And also, he's like a master in combat in Russia. I mean, we know master of boxing, master of sport in boxing. He's a master of sport in combat. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? But you could tell that shit's working. His takedown defense has improved. Josh Fremd, whatever. I'm not going to brag about Josh Fremd. We saw Anthony Hernandez destroy him as well. But Kopylov stuffed his takedowns like they were nothing. I mean, really made it look easy stuffing the takedowns. And this guy's speed is just next level. His fight IQ is next level. He has a good feint game. He's got nasty kicks to the body, good knees to the body, elbows. His hand speed is just crazy, man. And I think that this is like by far the most dangerous opponent Anthony Hernandez has ever taken on. Hernandez is running through guys, don't get me wrong. But Edmund Shabazian, he's always had a questionable gas tank, and he's been beat by grapplers before. He got finished on the ground by Amavov. He got finished by, or not finished, but the shit beat out of him by Crafty Man Hermanson. And sure, you run through Shabazian, who's kind of known for gassing out in a way, isn't nearly as dangerous and as fast as Kopylov. Marc-Andre Barriou, big plotter Marc Barriou. I mean, he's getting in on the inside of you anyway. Freak takedown attempts. Roman Kopylov knows how to keep his distance. Josh Fremd, both guys have beat him. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov to knock out Anthony Hernandez with a body shot in the second round. I think the first round is going to be somewhat close, but Roman Kopylov is going to land those early investment shots to the body. Big roundhouse kicks. Some good body shots, some hooks in there, maybe some knees in the clinch. And I think he's going to get Hernandez out of there in the second. Maybe just knock him out with a big shot to the chin. I'm trusting in Kopylov. I just have to pick him in this one, man. I have a feeling that this wrestling is really leveled up. Living in Makhachkala, Dagestan, Russia, you know they're all about wrestling there. I'm going to pick Kopylov to win this one. But I won't be surprised if Hernandez, who is a much better grappler than Josh Fremd, can win this fight via decision or a third-round TKO. I just think that in order for him to get it on the inside, he's going to have to take a lot of punishment. And he does take a lot of punishment in his fights. He fights like a guy that's just not scared of getting hit. And Roman Kopylov is going to change that right away. That's ultimately what is going to lead to my pick. Hernandez, he needs to get hit to make his style work early on. Like, he needs to get in his opponent's faces And I just don't think that's going to work so well if he doesn't have some serious power in his own hands against Roman Kopylov, who's such a sharpshooter. So Roman Kopylov, second round body kick, TKO. Let's get on to the next one. Merab Dvalishvili, Henry Cejudo. I mean, this is the easiest pick I've ever made in my life. Merab Dvalishvili is going to break Henry Cejudo, and he doesn't have a fucking chance. I mean that. Like, listen, I may be playing this up a little bit, but Henry is 37 years old. He's questioning whether he wants to be here or not. He got outpaced by Aljamain Sterling. And I rewatched Merab's fight with Petr Yan. The pace that this guy had on the feet alone in the early rounds was sick. Okay? Like, just not giving Yan space at all. Non-stop combinations, never getting tired, never slowing down. And Henry Cejudo was looking super patient against Aljo. Now, I understand Aljo had the range advantage, for sure. But I just think Merab's not just going to let him set. Henry Cejudo's not going to have time to set or think. Merab's just going to shoot nonstop takedowns, nonstop combinations. Merab Dvalishvili also fights like a guy that's not worried about getting KO'd either. He's just got so much confidence in his ability to break someone. And Henry's a guy that likes to think in there. He likes to set things up. And let me just say this. Cejudo was expected to knock out Aljamain Sterling. Remember, a lot of people were picking him because Aljo wasn't going to be able to grapple this time, and Henry was too dangerous with that karate style. He was like the McGregor at bantamweight, even though not many people were technically comparing him to McGregor. That's kind of how people saw that fight going. Henry does have some pop, but at 37, his speed has declined against someone as hungry as Merab, who never gets tired, and we know that guys with really good gas tanks who are in phenomenal shape can take a good shot. He's not going to be the guy to put him away. He doesn't have that Marlon Moraes fast twitch. He's fast. He doesn't have that fast twitch paired with that nasty power, though. Okay, he has decent power, but Merab's just going to frustrate him, and Henry's not going to be able to play his own game. He's constantly going to be reacting, and a guy as hungry as Merab Dvalishvili, who's just never going to back down. Like, this guy, I don't care how much money you give him, he's the hungriest man on the planet. He'll never lose if you don't put him away. Henry Cejudo is not going to win a decision. I don't give a fuck about Henry Cejudo's background in wrestling. It's just not going to help him here. He can stuff all the takedowns that he wants, okay? He can take down Merab for all I care. Merab's getting back up. The hunger cannot possibly be beaten. Merab's going to get back up if Henry takes him down. He's going to shoot maybe 30-plus takedowns in this fight, fail every single one of them. It doesn't matter. He'll just outpoint Henry on the feet, just outpoint him. Have that constant forward pressure, and the judges are going to be looking at that aggression as well, and they're going to really like to see that. And we're going to see Henry Cejudo and his facial expressions slowly start to fade into a man that looks like he's seen a ghost in the second round. He's going to go pale, all right? We're going to see the difference between a guy who's fighting because, let's give it one last shot. We'll see what we can do. Versus Merab Dvalishvili, who wouldn't rather do anything else on this planet than be in that cage, just going after that win money, going after the victory. That's the one thing this man wants. It's the one thing he cares about. He's not going to be denied. He's going to get this one done. Again, Henry's just, he's up against a guy that could be a champion right now. You beat Petr Yan, who arguably beat O'Malley. I mean, you're basically fighting the lineal champ. If you think Henry's going to win this, again, you don't need to stuffing a takedown is not what gets you the win on Merab. You have to have his cardio. You have to be able to consistently land shots. And Cejudo has good cardio, don't get me wrong. Nobody has Merab cardio. This is something that I've never seen before. It's alien-like, really. If Merab didn't have this gas tank, I wouldn't be picking him to win this fight. It's all based on the gas tank and the confidence that he has with it, right? Again, going out there and getting right in Jan's face. He did the same thing to Marlon Moraes. He did get cracked in that fight, but he just went right in his face as soon as the fight started. That kind of confidence goes a long way, especially against a guy that has 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the game, like Henry. On to the next one. Geoff Hands of Steel Neal versus Ian Machado Garry. I'm going to go with Machado, man, to win this fight. And I think he's going to win this and get this one done by a clean 30-27. Now, I'm worried about him for obvious reasons. And the first one that I'll bring up that you're probably not going to think of first and foremost is his physique rapidly deteriorating due to his vegan diet. He looks like he's multiple months out. He looks like he's peak off-season right now, as if he's lost a ton of muscle. He already has a very small head. And in front of a guy like Geoff Neal, who has gnarly KO power, probably the quickest hands in this division, it's just a super dangerous match. And Ian Garry does sometimes take risks and does end up leaving his hands down while overthrowing something. But the reason I am going to go with Ian Garry right now, I think he is not at the point of no return when it comes to his diet and his physique. And I know some of you guys are going to think I'm joking right there. Being in shape is very important. If you're losing muscle rapidly, your recovery is not going to be as good. Your health is not going to be as good. Your hormones aren't going to be as good. Your power is not going to be as good. Your speed is not going to be as good. His skill, I'm sure it's getting better. And I'm not saying we're going to see like a significant drop off in speed and power right away, but it's just worrisome. It just is. And Garry has a suspect chin. We know that. But I'm still picking him to win this fight because Geoff Neal is just a headhunter. He's too simple. He's dangerous, but he's too simple. He's a boxer. And I do believe that Ian Garry, going into this fight, is going to have a lot of respect for that power. He did get cracked a couple of times by Daniel Rodriguez before he found the finish. Ate the shots well, made a couple of mistakes. I don't think he's going to make as many mistakes or take risks against someone like Geoff Neal. Not at all. Now, is he going to run through Geoff Neal? No. He's going to have to play it safe. It's going to be a little bit of a slow fight. But I just think that Ian Garry is going to play the range game almost as best as possible. Now, Wonderboy Thompson beat Geoff Neal. Neil Magny beat Geoff Neal. And Shavkat Rakhmonov beat Geoff Neal. These are guys that have outstruck him. I'm not going to look at Shavkat's performance too much because Shavkat has a granite chin. He's a dog. He's a savage. He's going to get right in the pocket with Geoff Neal, try to get into that clinch in the dirty boxing range. He's cool to sit there. We know Garry's not doing that. If he does that, he's fucked. But I think that Garry's going to be able to outpoint Geoff Neal at range like Neil Magny and Wonderboy Thompson did. Now, one thing I will say is that Geoff Neal is very good at getting his opponents up against the fence, especially when he has the power advantage. Shavkat was the only guy that's really walked him down, on the feet that is. We know Ian Garry's not going to be looking to clinch up with Geoff Neal. I know he's been training in Brazil with Oliveira, and he's probably been working on his ground game more than ever, and he's got good judo, but he's not going to be looking to do that. He's not going to be looking to be in close range at all. But Geoff Neal, when he has the power advantage, does a really good job at pressuring guys back. He did the same thing to Wonderboy, but Wonderboy's got such good movement, such good footwork. Garry's a whole lot more orthodox in his approach. He has the more traditional kickboxing approach, whereas Wonderboy's got that point karate style. Neil Magny, I mean, he's also clinching and he's also stinking it up every now and then. He's just crafty. He's crafty. Ian Garry doesn't have that same craft, but I'm picking him because of his shot selection. He's going to have so many things going for him in this one. Stomps to the knee. Heavy, heavy low kicks. We haven't seen Geoff Neal fight someone that's got these types of low kicks. Everyone talks about Neil Magny. Oh, you just got to kick his legs. Only one guy has done it successfully and destroyed him with that approach, right? The guy that Magny beat last time, what's his name? I already forgot his name. Sucks for Canada, dude. Mike Mallet. Mike Mallet tried to go at his legs, did nothing, all right? Ian Garry destroyed that man's legs within a couple of kicks. He's going to frustrate Geoff Neal and take away a little bit of his base early with the low kicks. He's going to be stomping at the knees. He's going to be throwing a front kick to the body. He's going to be setting up that head kick. That jab, feint the right hand, head kick. His jab is clean too. And I think Geoff Neal, especially because he's already mostly just a boxer in the first place, sometimes he'll throw a body kick, sometimes he'll throw a head kick. And he's dangerous if he lands it, of course. Knocking out Mike Perry with that head kick back in the day. But 95% of what he throws are his hands. And he has to get in on close range. He's not knocking people out with just a jab. He has to get in and actually land some combos or land a combo to put you away or a head kick. And I just think that even if Garry gets hit, he's going to be getting hit with like a singular shot and then getting out. And we're going to see Geoff Neal headhunting the whole time and Garry just picking him apart at range. Slamming big body kicks. Now, Garry says he wants a body kick KO. He said that he wants to make Geoff Neal look like a puppy that's like about to take a shit, right? the way that you look like when you're holding in a shit. That's what he said on his Instagram. A little bit of a interesting analogy. I think that he is really going to destroy the body and the legs of Geoff Neal. Stick and move, long, rangy kicking style. Win this one on points, 30-27, with Geoff Neal headhunting, getting frustrated, looking for the clinch. We'll see what he can do there, but I think Garry's going to win this fight. The only way he loses is if he gets KO'd, of course, which could happen. It definitely could happen, and I'm worried for him, but I do believe that he'll get this one done to remain undefeated. And Geoff Neal's once again going to struggle with guys that can mix it up and have long, rangy styles. So let's get on to the next one. Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa. This is a tough one. The hunger's on Costa's side. The big power's on Costa's side. I'm kidding. I'm going with Robert Whittaker to beat up Paulo Costa. This is the most motivated version of Robert Whittaker I've seen since right after his Adesanya fight, where I think he took a lot of confidence from the rematch I'm talking about. After having such a close fight, people saying he won that fight. And he kind of felt like, you know what, I'm still the man. Fuck what it says on my record. I'm still the man. Of course, got served some humble pie, some reality check pie against Dricus du Plessis. But Paulo Costa doesn't have those X factors like du Plessis, does he? Does he have the ability to game plan, and does he have good shot selection and a good fight IQ? No. He had Luke Rockhold looking like Abu Smagomedov, turning his back to him for 2 rounds. Couldn't find the finish. Big Paulo Costa. The fight was even going his way. Still couldn't do it. Still getting chopped up by old man Luke Rockhold. Does he have that power? Nope. Who's he KOing? He's KOing Mermaid Man from SpongeBob. I mean, Johnny Hendricks, old man Hendricks, on the long loss streak. He just doesn't have that one-hitter quitter. He does not have those like big punch knockdowns. And Whittaker, unless he gets rocked first with something big, which has only been against guys like Cannonier and Adesanya, sharpshooter Izzy. We're talking who have long reaches as well. We're talking about Dricus du Plessis, another guy with a long reach. You're going to have to land some big combos on him. This ain't Yoel Romero landing a big overhand. Paulo Costa's way to win this fight is to get Whittaker into the phone booth. I just don't see it happening. Is he hungry? No, he's not hungry. And I think that if Costa doesn't have early success, where maybe that'll allow him to get some confidence and to find a groove. And even though Costa is still going to be taking a little bit of a beating, if he finds some confidence, he will fight the best he can. He'll move forward. He'll have that bully style. But if he doesn't have the early success that he wants, and Whittaker's on point and fully respecting Paulo Costa as a big power puncher, which he's kind of not, but for Whittaker, a guy with a chinny chin, you gotta have to think of everyone as a big power puncher at this point. I just think that Paulo Costa is going to get made to look like he did against Adesanya. He's just going to get beat to the punch. Whittaker is going to be on a totally different level when it comes to speed. And, hey, that's what Whittaker does best. Speed kills in this game. And we saw Whittaker beating Izzy to the punch, catching Izzy off guard with his speed, popping his head back. And I think that Robert Whittaker, a guy that's going to be mean in his approach. You could talk about his power lacking. It's been 7-8 years since he's had a finish. He's mean with everything that he throws. In that Dricus du Plessis fight, he's fighting a guy that is incredibly durable, who's willing to die in that octagon, who's dedicating every single waking minute of his life to being a UFC champion, who's got big power, who's very unorthodox, and also is a good game planner. It's just not the same guy that we're dealing with. People need to stop thinking of, well, Dricus beat him and he's a big puncher. Dricus is not just a big puncher. That's part of it, but he's not just that guy. Can Costa mix it up? Maybe. I actually think if Costa goes in here with a grappling heavy approach, he could actually take Whittaker down, and via being the much bigger, stronger guy, he could hold him down and beat the fuck out of him. But I still don't think he's going to do that because Whittaker has that good takedown defense, and he's going to expect that Costa can shoot a takedown. Whereas I think Dricus kind of caught him off guard a little bit. So I am going to go with Whittaker. I just see him sticking Costa with the jab early, stomping on his knees, pushing him back with a front kick to the body, and he will be able to land that high kick setup. Listen, Paulo Costa is going to be ready for it, but I just don't see this guy's ability, his fight IQ, that is. I just think you got to be in it. You got to be mentally in it. You got to be training consistently. And it honestly seems to me like this guy, of course he's working hard in the gym, but he gives me the vibes of someone that just hits pads on the beach. Really. The way to keep your timing, the way to keep your precision, your eyesight, your hand-eye coordination is to be committed to the game. And Robert's going to land that high kick. He is, since Costa's not fully committed. He's going to set him up. Everyone's got caught by that high kick combo other than Izzy and I believe Drickus. Everyone's got caught. I think Costa's going to get caught with it. And I could see Whittaker rocking him. But ultimately, I'm going to go with a nasty decision, a mean decision for Robert Whittaker. Just sticking Paulo Costa as he moves in, passes that little line that Whittaker's drawn up in the beginning of the fight, popping him with the piston-like right hand. Whittaker's so fast with that karate blitz. He's getting this one done if he's on his P's and Q's. On to the main event. Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Listen, if this goes to a decision, I really do believe Volkanovski will win. I just think he's going to get KO'd. I just cannot unsee that happening. The MMA gods, man, they just don't give us what we want when we need them most. And you guys may not like that. But I just can't see Volkanovski pulling it off. Listen, if he does, that'll be amazing. When I say I can't see it, I know he's capable of it, but I'm worried that he's just going to fight a little bit too tentative or too aggressive trying to prove a point. He's saying in his interviews that he thinks he's going to get a second round finish, that he's going to crumple Ilia in the first. I think he's going to have a little bit of a strength advantage. He's going to be a little bit bigger than Topuria. I think he'll have at least 5 pounds on him, right? Volk is huge in that division. Topuria is a big, strong guy too. Good takedown defense. He's been held down by Bryce Mitchell a year ago. And that's little man Bryce Mitchell. Volk's going to have the highest level of craftiness, skill, specific techniques you could possibly imagine. This is a massive jump up for Topuria. A guy that's going to be feinting. You don't know what's coming next. He's going to be kicking the shit out of that lead leg. He's going to be mixing in the takedowns and the clinch. Volk really does have an opportunity to frustrate Topuria and just not give him that boxing match. Just not run in with his chin on a silver platter. I just have a feeling that Topuria is going to catch Volkanovski with a good shot when Volk's overly aggressive. Or I have a feeling that Volk is going to be too tentative and he's not going to get going early. Volk kind of does rely on having high output to dictate the pace, to set up all those feints. The feints don't start working until you establish something first. And he's disciplined. He's very disciplined. I think Volk's fight IQ is up there. I'm just worried. I feel like he may be too confident this time. Topuria is so dangerous. Talking about how he's already the champion. I mean, I'm a big Volk fan. I don't want Volk to lose. I am going to pick Topuria to knock him out just because coming off of the KO loss, the chin may not be the same. The approach may not be the same. Changing of the guard moment. We've seen guys level up big time in the matter of 6 months to a year. I think the MMA gods are cruel, guys. I'm going to go with Topuria. I'm going to go with them. Skill-wise, I believe Volk is a little bit better. Topuria is the better boxer, though. All right. I think Topuria is going to have the durability as well. But if this is a battle of points, putting points on the board, Volk is going to win this all day. If Topuria wins via points, I'm going to be shocked. I'll be shocked. I really will. I think he's just going to catch Volk with something nasty, right? He's been studying Volk for years. Ever since Topuria got into the UFC, he's been studying and preparing for Volkanovski. Volk's not really been thinking about Topuria for more than a year, I think. And I know he's obsessed with training, which is the good thing. If there's anyone that's going to break the 35 curse, it's a guy that's as obsessed with getting better as Volkanovski, who's already gifted physically, athletically, who's got all this experience too. If there's anyone that's going to break the curse, it is Volkanovski. He does get hit in his fights, though. I'm going with Ilia Topuria, second round KO. I think Volk is going to have success early. I think he may be able to eat a shot early, too. I just see him getting a little bit overly confident on the feet after some early success, entertaining the stand-up a little bit too much. And I think he's going to catch a big shot in the second when it seems like the tide is going towards Volkanovski and the momentum is shifting a little bit. And we're starting to say to ourselves, holy fuck, Volk's looking pretty good here. He took a big shot. Ilia's going to be in there, though. And I think he is going to land a big shot on the chin of Volkanovski. Perhaps he's going to land a right hand, maybe a hook in the pocket. Both guys might be trading. Volk's a good boxer, don't get me wrong, but Ilia is always a guy that you just can't afford to get hit with in the pocket. I ultimately think he's going to get dropped. He's going to be dazed a little bit. He's going to be trying to work his way up, but he's not going to be there, and Ilia is going to land a follow-up shot to put him away. Ref steps in. It's going to suck. It's going to absolutely suck, even though Ilia is going to be a new champ, and people are going to be saying, honestly, this is good for the UFC. I'm going to be pissed. My mind is telling me that Topuria wins because of the circumstances, because of the KO loss, the chin maybe not being the same, the approach from Volkanovski may be different. Maybe Ilia shows some facet of his game that we've never seen, and again, it's like Volkanovski hasn't been able to study him as much as he's been able to study Volk. Well-rounded. This is a tough test. I think we're going to see Ilia catch Volkanovski with a big shot and put him away. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.